Henry keeps calling for Carter, but he is not appearing. Hector then suggests that Carter's soul is currently not in the netherworld. He suggests that Carter is still alive. Henry then plans to summon Carter's former subordinates. They go to a mausoleum to search for the belongings of Carter's former comrades. There Henry finds one and immediately prepares the summoning circle. He calls for Holterbelt, and the latter asks for his identity. Then he introduces himself and starts asking about Carter, who is missing because of Black. Holterbelt cries and falls to his knees. He then asks him about Black. Holterbelt informs Henry that there is a misunderstanding. The demon doesn't actually transform but steals and uses the bodies of others. He worked like an evil spirit and possessed them in turns. The last thing he heard from Black was that he was going to be the demon. After 5 years, Black must be talking about evolution and might be a demon now. Holterbelt also mentions that he experienced the pleasure of murder when Black possessed him. Then he remembers that there was a scent that attracted Black. They got deodorant from a merchant, which scent attracted Black. It's called Febreze. Teeny then asks Henry something in return and whispers it to him. She asks to have a meal with him on their next day off. He agrees to it. Henry later asks his subordinates if they saw something like the Febreze in Carter's belongings. No one saw anything. So, he wonders if the testimony is wrong. He then orders his platoon to continue their work. Therefore, he commands them to move out to search, and he uses a spell again that makes his group less conspicuous to the monsters. Henry sprays some Febreze on his body and uses a spell to make his perfume stand out. The scent travels through the forest and into a cave. Inside the cave, a demon smells it and suddenly roars out loud. Henry feels like it was a false testimony. He casts the 2 spells again. Just then, Henry hears a roar, and the troops confirm it was a Taurus. He suddenly hears a sound, and a bolt of lightning strikes him. The troop's sergeant watches as Henry falls to the ground. A horde of Tauruses appears, and everyone panics. This makes the sergeant assume command and order them to retreat. The others want to avenge Henry. Suddenly, the white Taurus from the cave appears and lets out bolts of lightning from his body. The others suggest fighting to save face after losing 2 lieutenants now, and the platoon's sergeant agrees. The soldiers and Tauruses clash, and of course, the humans are weak against the monsters. Gibo notices that the white Taurus is focused on Henry's body. So, he tries to stop the white Taurus, but he gets swept aside. The white Taurus attacks again with a lightning strike, but the attack is absorbed by Henry with his sword. Henry stabbed a piece of paper with a magic circle on it and completely destroyed it. He tells Gibo to report that he is alive and orders him to stay alive. Gibo affirms while crying out of happiness. Henry then asks the white Taurus if it was the one to attack him. But the white Taurus roars and attacks Henry. He blocks the attack and counters with a kick. Then he swiftly beheads it. The head then calls someone useless, and a black aura comes out of it. The head flies toward Henry, and Black tries to possess Henry. However, the possession doesn't work on Henry. So, he slashes the head in half, and Black comes out. He uses magic to attack Black. After that, Black hurriedly runs off. Henry uses a spell that usually finds the remains of dead soldiers. Henry decides to follow Black immediately. Black hurries to find a new host and encounters a brown bear. Black tries to act like a normal bear while Henry is nearby. Henry starts walking away, but he suddenly calls Black stupid and kills the bear. He uses magic to burn the dead bear, and Black comes out while screaming in pain. Henry then asks Black about Carter's whereabouts, but Black doesn't want to tell him. So Henry has to use force. Black leads Henry to a cave and discovers Carter. However, Henry finds it weird that Carter looks fine. Black hurriedly possesses Carter. Black then draws out Carter's sword, which is infused with aura. Henry is surprised that Black can use the host's power. Black claims that Henry's body will be his and attacks him. Henry quickly dodges and hits the back of Carter's neck. Black falls flat to the ground. Now, Henry tells him that he can pretend to use a sword, but he won't be able to do anything without polishing his swordsmanship. After that, Henry casts Paralyze on Carter's body. Black asks to be spared. Henry asks for his identity. Black reintroduces himself as Clever, the last surviving evil spirit from his tribe in the underworld. Henry realizes that Clever is a mimic. Henry then tries to eliminate Clever. Clever cries out that he was promised to be spared, but Henry didn't agree to it. Just then, Clever brings out a mountain of treasures. Henry asks Clever where he got them. It is because of his ability, and he has been collecting treasures. Rather than the treasure, Henry wants the subspace ability to store things. Henry then offers Clever to be his subordinate, and he picks up a ring. Henry uses it to create a subordination contract with Clever. Clever changes form as the contract is formed. Henry tells Clever to store the treasure. They leave with Carter's unconscious body. Meanwhile, the other troop members finish cleaning up the regular Tauruses. They see Henry approaching with someone on his back. They shout as they recognize Carter. Back in the camp, everyone can't believe that Carter is alive. The other officers feel thankful and apologize to Henry. Henry can't believe he is being praised this much. Solomon later informs Henry that he had a visitor. Teeny came to fetch him because Iselin is looking for him. Iselin invites Henry to a celebration of his mission's success. Clever notices that Henry is in a pinch and suggests using his ability to drink alcohol instead. Clever advises Henry to drink the alcohol naturally. However, Henry doesn't trust Clever yet. Clever tells him to trust him this time, and Henry is surprised at how docile Clever became. Henry goes for a toast and gulps the alcohol. Iselin suggests drinking with bowls until the commander passes out. Henry still needs to look for his treasure. Henry then calls out Clever and orders him to change his appearance to something Henry is familiar with. Clever then transforms into a white cat. He checks on Clever and praises him. Henry then asks what kind of scent Clever is attracted to. Clever mentions cucumbers, and Henry brings out one. Clever suddenly goes hysterical, and Henry discovers that cucumbers are their stimulants. Henry wonders why Clever went for Carter, who is not wearing deodorant. Clever was planning to use Carter as his vessel after his evolution. Henry then asks Clever if he's come across kin mushrooms before. Clever confirms that he knows where they are located. Henry goes out and flies toward the direction Clever points. Clever claims it is behind the tree. Henry cuts the tree, and kin mushroom spores scatter. He orders Clever to suckle everything. The spores clear out, and they find a cave. The two go inside, and they find a shield that Henry left behind. Henry uses a spell to disintegrate it. He finds a box in the Guardian's ashes. The box contains the heart of a demon named Venom. If you eat one, you will be resistant to all kinds of poison, and it will turn your blood to poison. Clever wonders if there is a cure, and Henry confirms that there is one. Henry then swallows his heart, but he feels fine. He pulls out a container that contains the poison that ruined him before to test the Venom's heart. Clever freaks out as Henry gulps the poison. Henry trembles, but he turns out to be fine. He finally achieved his purpose in District 6. Henry returns to the camp, and Solomon tells him to get some rest. Solomon also hands out an official document for Henry to read. Henry goes back to his room to read the paper, and he smiles. He then wonders what to wear for his dinner with Teeny in her quarters. Meanwhile, Teeny thinks that Henry is a fine choice. Just then, Henry arrives and sees Teeny all dressed up. Henry thanks Teeny for the invitation, and Teeny tells him to call her sister in private. Teeny plans to claim Henry as her own. Henry is surprised by the food that Teeny prepared. They sit down to eat, and Teeny pours wine. They start eating, and Henry likes the peaceful feeling. Later, Teeny suggests drinking more and moves to get more wine. She plans to make Henry drunk using the so-called love potion. Just then, a soldier arrives to report something. Teeny asks frustratedly what is wrong. The guard reports that Carter woke up from his coma. Henry overhears it. The doctor reports that Carter regained consciousness, but his body is extremely weak because of the demonic energy. It will take him 1 year to recover. The doctor also relays Carter's thanks to Henry for subduing Black. Solomon asks Iselin what will happen to Henry now that Carter is back. Henry then shares his thoughts, and Iselin screams out of disbelief. Teeny is also shocked. 1 year later, Hector asks Henry if he doesn't have talent. Henry gets mad. Hector can't believe Henry didn't get it after a year on the battlefield. Henry tells him to shut up. He cleared countless missions. He trained every single day. However, Henry is only a sword runner. Hector finds him amazing. Oribandi is an extreme life force that the body emits when it reaches its peak. The stronger you are, the harder it is to master Aura, and the longer it takes, the more powerful Aura is. Hector knows Henry will master Aura soon, like him. Henry just needs to realize his limits. Henry then plans to slowly get ready for military discharge. Solomon asks if Henry will really leave. Henry did promise to leave when Carter recovers. Henry thanks Solomon for everything. Solomon also thanks him and orders Henry to turn around. Everyone salutes Henry, and he salutes back. Henry's troop members cry as they see Henry off. Henry hopes to see them again and thanks them. Iselin also asks if Henry is sure about leaving. He gives Henry an emblem that represents military merit and achievements during his military service. With his silver medal and 3 stars, he will be saluted everywhere he goes. Iselin also gives him a token for completing his education core. He promises to fulfill any wish Henry wants or needs. Henry asks Iselin to take care of his friend Ronan, but Iselin will be objective. Henry leaves and plans to accumulate wealth first. Henry arrives at Vivaldi, the Empire's famous entertainment city. He shows his badge, and the guards salute him. They let Henry inside and gave him a black card, a free pass in the city given to the honorable. He can see that nothing has changed. Henry changes into his military uniform. The storekeeper thinks Henry is a young officer with no money. He asks for the most expensive brand, and the storekeeper gets flustered. She returns with expensive clothes. Henry wears it and asks the storekeeper for more. Clever realizes humans are shallow when it comes to money. Henry finishes his shopping, and Clever finds his master amazing for using a year's salary and all his jewels in one purchase. The two later go to the town center and read the board of high scores and champions of competitions in Vivaldi. Henry plans to make more money. Henry finds something and is impressed that Vanti Larsson still keeps his title. Meanwhile, Vivaldi's mayor receives a report that a black-ranked person wants to meet him. The mayor freaks out after hearing Henry's name. He knows Henry is dead, though. The mayor tries to refuse, but the guard informs him that Henry will make known what happened in Vargas. He spills his drink and quickly asks to bring Henry inside. Vanti Larsson reigned as the chess champion for 10 years and became Vivaldi's mayor. Henry comes in, and Vanti doubts his identity. Henry calls Vanti by his title. Henry then shows his military badge, and Vanti concludes that the Henry in front of him is a baronet. He wonders how a baronet can afford the expensive clothing brand. Vanti returns the badge. He nervously asks about Vargas. Henry claims it is an inn, and Vanti gets nervous. Vanti asks for Henry's purpose for visiting him. Henry asks for a game of chess. Henry offers to tell him everything if Vanti defeats him. Vanti reminds him that he is the undefeated champion. He offers to fulfill a wish if Henry wins. They then begin the match. Time passed, and Vanti couldn't believe that he lost to a nobody. Henry asks if he is alright. Just then, Vanti flips the board. Henry reminds him that it was an unofficial match. Henry then introduces himself as Henry Moore's second chess disciple, surprising Vanti. He claims that he was taught chess because they have the same name. Vanti asks what he wants. Henry asks for 100,000 gallons of gold. However, Vanti doesn't have the money. Henry then mentions that there is a 100,000 gold price that the Empire provided to reward the one who defeats Vanti. Vanti can't believe the information was disclosed. Henry claims that the gold will just rot in the tower. They later climb the tower, and they use a hidden entrance to enter a vault full of coins. Henry is surprised to see platinum coins. Vanti wonders how Henry will move the coins. Henry asks Clever to get everything. Henry then gives Vanti a paper that says he can summon him anytime. He offers to help Vanti if he is in danger. Henry remembers Vanti refusing to take care of his disciples. He now forgives Vanti. The next day, Henry signs up for the sword sparring competition. He fills up the form. The clerk wonders how Henry got the badge when he is only a runner-class swordsman. Henry gets offended and uses his black card. The clerk apologizes and registers him in the competition. In this competition, you win if you break your opponent's sword. The higher the ranking, the more audience and prize money. Henry needs to defeat 3 F rankers or 1 C ranker to advance to D rank. There is a policy that says you can only raise your rank 1 at a time. Henry bets on himself and asks for a C ranker or above as an opponent. The other swordsmen swarmed the area after hearing about the 100 gold coins. Henry then chooses Damien as his first opponent. Damien celebrates, and the spectators feel bad for Henry for picking an expert swordsman. The referee shouts the rules and begins the match. Damien looks down on Henry and charges to attack him. However, Henry easily breaks Damien's sword. Everyone is speechless. Henry calls the referee, and the latter announces Henry's victory. The spectators wonder who Henry is. Henry tells the receptionist that he will double the prize money for B rankers and above. The audience cheers as Henry expects to rank up faster now. Henry keeps winning his fights and always doubles the money every time his rank increases. Henry's name brought excitement to the arena. Thanks to him, the arena profited more than other arenas. He increases the prize money to 3,000 gold and asks for an S-rank opponent. Just then, an S-ranker named Sawan confronts Henry. He is called the Wall Sword Sawan because his sword is as hard as a wall. The referee reminds them not to cause injury. Sawan tells Henry to attack him first. Henry expects him to be an expert, and he quickly attacks Sawan. Sawan confidently blocks the attack. However, his sword breaks, and Henry calls him a door from now on. Henry immediately faces off against the second strongest S-ranker, the Black Knight. Of course, Henry easily defeats the Black Knight in one clash. Henry just needs to defeat the champion King. Henry then tells the receptionist that he challenges King. He bets 5,000 gold for himself. The others find him amazing for having so much gold and branded clothes. A man with a top hat ominously watches Henry. The man approaches Henry and introduces himself as Ten, the owner of the arena. He then offers Henry something. He wants to raise the stakes of the match against King. He claims that wounding is allowed in a match to dethrone the King. Henry now knows why no one challenges King. Ten finds the matchup interesting. He wants to postpone the match until tomorrow, and it will happen in front of all of Vivaldi. He plans to compensate Henry and fulfill his desire for fortune. Henry then asks if there is no limit to betting on the match against King, and Ten confirms it. Henry worries the arena can handle the payout, but Ten reminds him about the arena's name, the 10 million gold arena. Henry lets Ten take care of everything. He thanks Ten for making him rich. Ten immediately promoted the match, and people got excited. The bigger the audience, the bigger the prize. Henry now plans to make his next move. That concludes part 3 of this recap. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. What will happen next? If you would like to see a part 4 of this manhwa, let us know in the comments section below. Till next time.